The universe provides mindsight, intuition, and the power of a supportive field. As we begin 2026, this is the mantra I'm carrying with me, quietly, steadily, without the need to prove it to anyone. The universe provides. Not as bypass, not as a denial of grief, effort, or uncertainty, but as a lived truth I've watched reveal itself over and over again, often in moments when support arrives sideways, subtly, right as I stop forcing. Over the holidays, like many of you, I found myself drawn to stories that stretch the edges of what we think is possible. One that stayed with me deeply was the Telepathy Tapes, particularly the final episode. In it, researchers and caregivers describe children who are able to see while blindfolded. Not metaphorically, literally, children identifying shapes, colors, symbols without the use of their physical eyes. What struck me most wasn't just the phenomenon itself, but how the ability is cultivated. They refer to this capacity as mind sight, a way of perceiving that doesn't rely on the optic nerve but instead seems to arise internally as knowing, sensation, or inner imagery. The children don't describe it as trying to see, they describe it as receiving information. There is no strain, no effort, no forcing. And the environment matters profoundly. The technique used to train these children is deceptively simple. Only positive, supportive language is spoken around them. No doubt, no pressure, no framing of mistakes as failure. When encouragement, trust, and belief are present, the ability strengthens. When something negative is said, even casually, the ability diminishes. Not permanently, but noticeably. The field matters. That detail landed in my body like a bell being rung. Because while most of us aren't training to see while blindfolded, we are navigating invisible terrain every day. Intuition, timing, trust, opportunity, grief, becoming. And many of us were trained in the opposite conditions. We learned to motivate ourselves through criticism, to be realistic, to expect disappointment as a form of preparedness, to brace instead of receive. What if our capacity to perceive guidance works in the same way as mind sight? What if intuition, our ability to sense when to move, when to wait, when to say yes or no, is not something we lack, but something that dims under pressure? Fear constricts perception. Shame scrambles the signal. Harsh self-talk interrupts the channel. From this lens, mindsight isn't some extraordinary ability reserved for gifted children in controlled settings. It's the same faculty we use when we just know a door is closing, when we feel a yes in our body before logic catches up, when we sense an ending or an opening long before it becomes visible on paper. Intuition thrives on trust. It responds to gentleness. It goes quiet when it's interrogated too harshly. I've seen this play out in my own life during periods of transition, when the path ahead felt undefined, when money felt tight, when I was standing in the liminal space I so often write about. The moments where I softened instead of contracted, where I chose encouragement over self-attack, where I spoke to myself with patience instead of urgency. Something shifted. An email arrived, a client signed on, a conversation opened a door. Rest appeared right when my body demanded it. Not because I manifested perfectly, but because I stopped disrupting the signal. The children in the telepathy tapes aren't striving to receive. They're responding to an environment that tells them over and over again, you are safe to perceive more. Maybe that's what 2026 is asking of us. To speak more gently to ourselves, to reduce the static, to stop narrating our lives with suspicion. To treat our intuition the way those children are treated, with trust, patience, and unwavering belief in what's possible. So as we begin this new year, I'm practicing this, not as affirmation wallpaper, but as orientation. The universe provides, even when I don't see how yet, especially when I stop telling myself it won't. If this resonates, consider carrying the mantra with you this week, not as something to repeat loudly, but as something to listen from. And notice what becomes visible when the inner commentary turns kind. If this essay supported you in any way, if it softened something, clarified something, or helped you feel less alone in this threshold, you're invited to subscribe or like. As we cross the threshold into a new year, many of us find ourselves in a quiet in-between, no longer who we were, not yet sure who we're becoming. This is the space I work in as a transition doula. I support people through seasons of change, career shifts, identity unravelings, relationship endings and beginnings, spiritual awakenings, when the old ways no longer fit, but the new ones haven't fully formed. A new year amplifies this liminality. It asks us to loosen our grip on what carried us before and trust what wants to arrive next. You don't have to navigate that passage alone. My work is about holding the field steady, offering grounding, reflection, and intuitive support as you step into the unknown with more clarity and self-trust.